Had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
Mein Eimer ist weg. Hallo? Eimer? Habe ich meinen Eimer jetzt weggeworfen? Quasi? Oder wieder was? Ich bin verwirrt. Was ist denn jetzt kaputt?
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way.
Mal gucken, ich gehe jetzt mal zu dem Raum mit den Türen. Mal gucken, eventuell kriege ich ja jetzt die Möglichkeit, da hinzukommen. Und eventuell ein weiteres Collectible zu kriegen. War ich schon immer hier oben drauf? Ach, warte mal, sollte ich eigentlich ursprünglich hier oben drauf gehen? Warte mal. Ist das Holzbrett neu? Ich kann mich nämlich nicht daran erinnern, dass ich hier irgendwie so runterspringen konnte. Falls das so die ganze Zeit gedacht war und ich habe das nicht gesehen. Gut, ich hab meine eigenen Wege.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing in your trust in someone
seit dem Eimer ist es da, okay.
The fact is that the story has been about nothing.
Hab ich halt nie bemerkt.
All this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stan. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why? I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler Anmarines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them. And now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler Anmarines. None of us can.
Figlo, was für ein Ding? Geht's dir noch gut? Riechst du gerade verbrannten Toast?
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Nee, sehe ich nicht ein. Sehe ich nicht ein. Nö. Ist Eimer jetzt wieder da? Eimer? Da ist er wieder. Replacement Bucket.
And try not to lose this one too, you dolt.
Ich hab den nicht verloren. Ich hab den mit Absicht auf Reisen geschickt. Dann gibt's ja jetzt theoretisch eigentlich nur noch, ja. Nearby a fireplace. Wait, der einzige Ort ist doch da unten. Das ist der einzige Kamin. Oder ist da noch mehr? Nee, ne?
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Ich denke mal, hier kann ich jetzt auch, wenn dann nur noch Sachen machen wie eventuell hier, genau das.
Office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck.
Oh.
Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Egal, habe ich jetzt eben nicht ausreden lassen. Einmal gibt es dann noch das hier, denke ich mir mal. Dann, Explosion. Oh. Dann, Flucht. Und Freiheit. Und dann eventuell noch das, vielleicht das runter, das Out of Bounds gehen vielleicht noch.
And there it is. The last Stiggly Wiggly. Savor this moment, Stanley. This is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward, and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here. And now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines.
Ich war eventuell gerade dabei, mich wieder selber umzubringen oder so ähnlich. Oder den Aufzug zu benutzen.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Ich kann ihn benutzen.
Wait, Stanley said to the bucket. Can we go back up? When I was pressing those keypad buttons, there was something very intriguing about the number 3. I want to go back so I can try pressing the number 3 again. The bucket said nothing.
Oh Wunder, warum auch? Warum wohl?
Here we are, said Stanley. Now I'm going to try out that number 3 button. He took the bucket over to the keypad and began absolutely slamming on the number 3 over and over and over. Wow, he said. The number 3 is such a special button. I'm having the time of my life. Stanley looked expectantly at the bucket, but the bucket remained silent. This was a shock to Stanley, who had always felt such a connection with the bucket. How was this not as exciting to the bucket as it was to him? Once Stanley had had enough of the number 3, he got back in the elevator.
Nix. Offenbar wohl nix, okay. Wahrscheinlich gehe ich runter, gehe wieder hoch und dann sagt er dann quasi, hey, wie wär's mit der Taste 4?
Perhaps the bucket had missed something. Perhaps it had not seen how much joy Stanley got from slamming the number 3 repeatedly. A hint of regret nagged in the back of Stanley's mind. Should he demonstrate the number 3 for the bucket again?
Ja. Absolut.
No, said Stanley to the bucket. You can't go on yet. Not till you understand how much the number 3 means to me. You and I have been through so much together, and I just want you to see what I see. Feel the happiness I feel. He smiled at the bucket, and the bucket said nothing. Here we go, said Stanley. This time I'll really show you. He ran to the number 3 and began to wail on it like a musician on a beloved instrument, weaving a concerto of truth and passion. He wielded the number 3 like a fine artist would wield a paintbrush. He told stories through the number 3, stories of his dreams and hopes and fears, and the whole time he looked to his bucket for a reaction of some kind. Anything to let him know that the bucket appreciated what he was doing. The bucket conveyed absolutely nothing at all, only silence. Crushed by a wave of dejection, Stanley returned to the elevator.
Ja? Hey, guck mal, die Taste 3, ne? Die ist super. Siehst du? Glaubst du mir nicht? Guck doch selber. Das ist super. Das ist das Geilste auf der Welt. Nicht? Aber... na gut.
Stanley and the bucket were so close. They'd always been there for one another. Why suddenly could the bucket not connect with this passion of Stanley's? The question caused Stanley to ruminate the whole way down the elevator. He knew that there must be a way to get through to the bucket, to communicate fully with his dear friend. Surely there was a solution, mustn't there be?
Geht immer noch nach oben. Oh, diesmal nichts gesagt.
Said Stanley. I know what to do. I know how to fully express this feeling in my heart. He decided right then and there that he would hold a press conference where he would speak to the public on all matters relating to pressing the number 3 over and over. He would elaborate fully on what the number 3 meant to him and why he felt so alive when pressing it. Then the bucket would be able to see his joy through the eyes of others. It would get to see the world react to this discovery of Stanley's. And it would be through the public eye that the bucket would finally understand Stanley's work. For months, he advertised and marketed his press conference, building excitement around it, developing and rehearsing it, until it couldn't be refined a single measure further. When the big day arrived, Stanley was as prepared as he'd ever been for anything in his life.
Stanley, der Mann, der auf die Taste 3 drückt, ja.
This was it. One last chance to win the bucket over. One opportunity to share a true connection with a loved one.
Free again, the Stanley story. Da ist mir der Typ hier wesentlich lieber. Der Typ, der mit der Idee daherkam, Pizza herzustellen. Ja.
There was no one here. Nobody had come to the press conference to hear Stanley speak, to listen to him talk about what it really means to press the number 3 on a keypad over and over. He was unloved, uninteresting, he was a failure, and in that moment Stanley knew that the bucket would never again take him seriously. There would be no connection, no deeper understanding. The bucket merely sat there in his arms, indifferent. And so it began that slowly, over many years, the two of them grew more and more distant. They spoke less and less, neither wishing to state the obvious, that any sense of real respect between them had eroded since that day at the press conference. There would be no more games, no more long conversations about passion and pursuit. Only a silence that consumed the space between friends. And Stanley, having for once in his life discovered the warmth and comfort of true companionship, was cast back into the unremarkable normalcy of loneliness.
Wenigstens kann mir keiner dazwischenreden dann. Und wieder einmal. Oh, der Input ist weg. Wow! What the fuck? Was ist denn jetzt hier kaputt?
Stanley, I'm sorry, but I have to put a pause on things. It's those figurines, those figures. I haven't stopped thinking about them since you nabbed every last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire life? Didn't it fill you to the brim with inner richness? Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with one more trip back to the memory zone? I would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines. Just one more time.
Okay. Dann zurück zur Memory Zone. Now remembering when Stanley found the collectibles. Ach, das waren noch Zeiten. Damals, als ich da unter der Treppe die Figur gefunden habe. Ja, 2013 vor allen Dingen.
Here's where it all began. The first collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain? We were so innocent. We'll never be like that again, Stanley.
Okay. Machen wir das Spiel mal wieder kaputt. Gleich habe ich dann 12, wa? Interessant, warum bin ich denn jetzt hier?
And here was a second Stanlerine. You found this one all on your own, just by poking around in the warehouse. You did that, Stanley. I'll be honest. Back then I had no faith in you to find any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of mundane, unremarkable ways.
Ob ich jetzt runterjumpen könnte? Ja, was ist das denn?
Okay, let's do a little quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini Stan? Can you remember? Hey, that's exactly right. It was here, under the stairs. It was the third one. You picked it up, and then after that, you had 3 of them. I'm glad these moments are so crystal clear in your memory, but I shouldn't be surprised. After all, science tells us that it's impossible to forget your third time doing anything. Let's see, what came next?
Was zum Geier ist denn das für ein Raum?
Oh yes, we found a Figley in this pink room. Oh, well, I can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here in the memory zone, so it must have happened.
Ja, klar, definitiv. Inklusive dieses riesengroßen steinernen Apfels, der merkwürdige Flüstergeräusche von sich gibt.
This was the 5th mini-Stan, and this one was really something special. It was by the red and blue doors. I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion.
What?
Enjoy.
Fuck this shit. Gott, die Auflösung. Subscribe here.
Takes you back, doesn't it? I spent a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else.
8 Minuten? Wait, 8 Minuten dran gearbeitet oder 8 Minuten sollte das Video sein?
And then, Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here behind the boss's office. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a figly and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like. And then there was no more, because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. Goodbye, memory zone.
Okay.
Was? No, I'm not done. I'm not ready to move on. Stop the loading screen. Isn't there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels.
Wait, noch mehr Figuren sammeln?
Okay, yes. The back of the boss's office. I remember this. I must say, of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going, I want more.
Ich glaube, er ist süchtig nach Sammelobjekten geworden. Yep. Der kriegt nicht genug mehr davon.
And here's where I made that video. Don't you remember the video we watched? Yes, I love that video.
Aha.
Still don't remember the pink room, Stanley. Still no memory of this one. Good room, though. A solid room.
Ach, ich glaube, der pinke Raum ersetzt den Dingensbums-Raum, richtig? Nee, Quatsch, das ist ja der Anfang. Welcher Raum ersetzt dann den hier? Keine Ahnung. Ich weiß es nicht mehr.
These really were a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had been any kind of reward for finding all of these, it really would have muted the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one.
Das Badezimmer. Oh, da geht's gar nicht weiter. Das Badezimmer ist ersetzt worden.
This was our second figly. Don't you remember? Yes, I remember it too. The past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going. This is it, the very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the figurines. Oh, I want more memories, Stanley. I want to keep going. What else is there? What came before this?
Deine Expo.
Look, it's the terrible new content that we were originally sold on. I remember hating it back then, but time does put a rosy filter on everything. In fact, I dare say I'm actually quite fond of it now. Look how much fun the past is. I want more. More memories. Oh, yes, the two doors. Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one. And before everything else, there was your office. Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office? There's something I feel I can remember. I can remember. Yes, I'm remembering something now. I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical. I weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy, and I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions. He would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction. But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what? Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I did enjoy telling his story so very much. Okay, here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Also im Endeffekt quasi doch. Du hast so eine Art Storywriter, der irgendeine Story erzählt. Was stand da gerade? Irgendeine Story erzählt und der hat sich jetzt irgendwie so sehr in seinen Charakter verliebt, dass er irgendwie nicht damit aufhören kann, mit dem weiterzuspielen.
All of his co-workers